Katie Walker Payne. I was a first grader during the Cokeville bombing.
It's a scenario that is now chillingly familiar. Innocent lives hanging by a thread at the whim of a suicidal madman. But 10 years ago, when David Young and his wife Doris stormed the elementary school in Cokeville, Wyoming, such horrors were still fresh and incomprehensible.
Incidents at schools are really hard to go through, mostly because they involve children or teens. I normally schedule what videos I'm going to do well in advance, so this one has been on my schedule since about February. On May 24th of this year, Salvador Ramos entered Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. That made me think to hold this off, as Uvalde would be still fresh in the minds of the people, and it could be seen as bad timing. But after a couple of days of thinking about it, I decided to go ahead with this video as scheduled. I felt like I needed to give you an explanation on why this is coming out when it is coming out. On May 16th, 1986, David and Doris Young entered the Cokeville Elementary School in Cokeville, Wyoming, with a bomb. They held 136 children and 17 adults hostage. This could have been a tragic situation, but what happened that day turned into what could only be described as a miracle. Cokeville, Wyoming is not a big city or a large town. It is close to the border of Idaho, and in the 2010 census, there were only 535 people living in the town. So this was a pretty small town where everyone pretty much knew everyone. Before I continue, a lot of the footage used in this video was from the show Unsolved Mysteries, as well as another show similarly titled Unexplained Mysteries. That out of the way, the day started like any other Friday. Children in school learning math, history, reading, and sciences. The weekend was coming, and so wasn't summer, so the children were probably looking forward to breaks. But after lunch and recess, things changed. At 1 p.m., David and Doris Young pulled up to the school and unloaded a bomb inside a cart, alongside firearms. The bomb was crudely designed, constructed inside a two-wheeled shopping cart. It was blasting caps wired to a milk jug full of gasoline. Under the milk jugs were tuna cans filled with aluminum powder and flour, each with its own blasting cap. Scattered throughout the basket was bullets used for shrapnel, along with chains and gunpowder. The whole device was powered by a lantern battery. To keep it from going off, there was a string tied to a clothespin. The power of this bomb was comparable to 25 sticks of TNT. The string had a loop for David or Doris to place on their wrist. If the slightest movement of the hand happened, the string would be pulled and the bomb would detonate. David Young was known by the town. He was once a deputy there, until he was fired for misconduct. And also, he had only been a deputy for 6 months. David moved away and met Doris, having met and married her in Tucson, Arizona. Both were obviously unhinged, and both had ties to the Aryan nations. You would think his reasoning for going to the school that day would be wanting vengeance from being fired. But no, that wasn't his reasoning. This guy was really wacko. He wrote in journals that were found later that the reason why he decided to take a school full of children hostage was he thought children were becoming too intelligent. Yep. In fact, he had a manifesto that I couldn't find called Zeru equals Infinity, where he quotes the book Brave New World, which is a book about a future where the hierarchy is based on how intelligent you are. His wife Doris was either just as crazy or didn't have the fortitude to tell him that he was an idiot. It's really hard to say on that one. But they weren't just crazy, they were both idiots. I am not trying to downplay what they did, and I am not trying to be a complete asshole by calling them idiots. It's going to be clear why both David and Doris Young were not very bright. When they entered the school, the first person they took hostage was a secretary named Christine Cook.
I said to them, "Is there something I could do to help you, sir?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am, there certainly is. This is a revolution. Your school's being taken hostage. Consider yourself a hostage."
With David claiming that what they were doing was a revolution. They led Miss Cook to an empty first grade classroom. Then Doris went from classroom to classroom to lure the others to the first grade room, which was marked with the number 4. The way she did this varied, from stating there was an emergency and that everyone had to follow her, an assembly that was about to happen in that room, or simply just saying that there was a surprise. At this point, I have to remind everyone, this is a small town, and I would assume teachers would have been wondering who this woman was that was giving them orders, but all ended up in that room. 135 students ranging from 1st grade to 5th grade, 19 adults as well. David Young told them that this was a revolution. His reasons were highly nonsensical, having a superiority complex that was just baffling. The police were called and a standoff was commenced. But again, this is a small town, so the police were not equipped to handle this. They were dealing with the rantings of a madman who wanted $3 million for every child he had been holding hostage. He also wanted an audience with then-President Ronald Reagan. He kept reciting that manifesto I mentioned earlier. I'm going to give you a little bit more on what's in this manifesto. All this stuff I mentioned before about the kids becoming too intelligent, but he also wanted to be the leader of his own brave new world. While he was bugging the crap out of local law enforcement with his innate ramblings, the police had to deal with the parents showing up as well. Yeah, again, small town, not many cops, and a bunch of armed parents making the situation a lot worse. People were threatening to rush into the school, but the police knew that that was a pretty bad idea, and it became clear the standoff was going to end peacefully or very badly, but no one was ready for how it actually ended. There's an old Hollywood joke. Never work with children or animals. Why? Because both are unpredictable. And when you have 135 children locked in a room with nothing to do, that is the true stupidity of David and Doris Young. They had a hard time keeping the children calm. Even the teachers did. Can't blame them. There was a bomb in front of them. 2 people armed to the teeth, and one wrong move would spell disaster. Because of this unruliness, one of the teachers came up with an idea. They marked the ground in tape, a square around the hostage takers in order to keep the kids back. Meanwhile, some kids and teachers were praying, others played games, and a television was wheeled in so that some can watch television. But the gasoline fumes began to fill the room, making some sick. So the simplest solution was to open windows, which was allowed. But at some point, David had to use the bathroom, so he tied the bomb to Doris's wrist and left. Now, I like how Unsolved Mystery shows what happened next, with Doris talking with her hands, but in actuality, what most likely happened was that she was getting a headache from the fumes. And because she wasn't very intelligent, instead of raising her free hand to her forehead, she raised the hand that was tethered to the bomb, which caused it to go off. The room filled with smoke, and Doris caught fire. Police and rescue workers outside rushed to the smoke-filled room and helped kids escape the room through the windows. Some just rushed out the doors. The bathroom David was in was just off of the classroom. All he had to do was open the door and look at what was happening. Seeing his wife on fire, he shot her. Then he saw a teacher rushing out and shot the teacher in the back. But seeing all the children and teachers were no longer in the room, he shut the bathroom door and turned the gun on himself. During this chaos, Doris's dead body somehow got outside the school and onto the lawn. Out of 135 children, 19 adults, David and Doris Young were the only ones killed. Some children had burns, severe to mild. I found this picture online of one of them. While they are heavily bandaged, hard to tell the extent of the child's injuries. But this child lived, so I'm assuming just severe burns. The injuries come down to where the children and adults were when it comes to the proximity of the bomb when it went off. The ones closest suffered the severe to mild burns, while those closest to the windows and doors suffered mostly smoke inhalation. But most importantly, none of them died, which was technically a miracle, but a lot had to go wrong with the bomb for that to happen. The bomb was only partially detonated. The aluminum powder mixture didn't ignite. It had turned into paste by the gas leaking out of the milk jug. Wires on the bomb were detached. Most of the force of the bomb went upwards due to the windows being open. It was a miracle, but the children would come forward and saying that they saw more than what meets the eye. So, I'm not a religious person. I do believe in God, but I'm very critical about religion. I'm taking this all with a grain of salt, so I suggest you do the same. Some of the children claimed to see dead loved ones and angels. When they told the adults about their guardian angels, some of the parents claimed that these children were saved by the people they couldn't have met because they had died long time ago. Now, is this all true? Not my place to judge. Children can be very malleable and imaginative. But when looking at the photos from the actual room, you have this picture. This could be pareidolia, but it looks like a ghostly figure burned into the wall. Angels or stupidity, it doesn't matter. In the end, no one but the hostage takers died. 135 children and 17 adults all survived this incident with no life-threatening injuries. Take the angels and ghosts out of the equation, that is still a miracle. Though more a miracle of happenstance since the bomb was pretty much haphazardly made and most of it was rendered inert by its own shoddy design. There was a movie made about this that I kinda took the title for this video from, but the truth is, I haven't seen it. I have a habit of not watching movies based on actual events before researching, especially faith-based ones because they have an agenda. But if you want to watch it, it's called the Cokeville Miracle and you can find it on the Roku channel, Amazon Prime, and Tubi. Good to be back, by the way. Next week, I'm going to discuss the death of Superman. No, not the comic. The mysterious death of George Reeves. Till then.